Hello travelers, Boardman21 here, and today's build, the Bladedancer Synchronized Strike using shadows. This is just an updated, a little bit better version of what we put up earlier today. A lot of the gear is going to be the same. We did get a little bit more crit chance so that we had 100% crit chance with all of our hits. But we've changed the way that it works. We're now not going to have to manually cast Shadow Cascade. We're just going to cast Synchronized Strikes. That's all you have to do, Synchronized Strikes over and over again. So this is going to let you attack faster, and we've increased the area per shadow, which is going to allow you to not only attack faster, but you're going to have attacks doing 2 to 3 times their area of effect that they were doing before, which means that you're going to clear bigger areas and be able to do it faster. The hit damage is roughly the same, a little bit more. We threw in the daggers when you have Shadow Cascade go, which means that there's a chance for you to kill a mob that has a little bit of life left over. So normally you'd have to, Synchronize Strike again, but now there's a chance that all your daggers will hit it and finish it off for you, as they do a bit more damage. Alright, let's go ahead and get into the skills. For skills, we're using Dancing Strikes, Shift, Synchronized Strike, Smoke Bomb, and Shadow Cascade. For Dancing Strikes, a lot of these are going to be set up the same way they are in the other video. The only thing that's really changed is Synchronized Strike. So if you watch the other video, just go to the Synchronized skill tree. That's going to be the only one that's different. But we have 1 point in eluding steps, 4 points in quick step so that you can get that haste every time you hit an enemy with it, tenacious vital so that you take less damage over time when you've used dancing strikes recently, and invigorating moves so that you gain a health if you hit an enemy. We have 1 point in windmill ballot for a chance for shurikens to fly out and do some damage, 1 point in cutting corners, 4 points in rhythm so that you can now stack rhythm for every time that you've used dancing strike. This is a 2-second buff, so you have to use, obviously, Dancing Strikes within 2 seconds to have at least one stack always active. 1 point in Elegance, and 2 points in Art of Blades, so that for every stack of rhythm that you have not only 5% increased damage, but 20% more global critical multiplier, which is huge. For Shift, we have 4 points in Velocity, 5 points in Head Trauma, and 3 points in Brascula's Hesitation, just so that you get 115% more damage with the next skill you use after shifting. We have 2 points in Momentum for some haste after shift, 4 points in Swift Recovery for the mana gain, so you basically get the cost back of it, 1 point in Shadow Slip so you're invulnerable while shifting, and 1 point in Lasting Presence so that you create a shadow after shifting. For Synchronized Strike, so you can see we set this up a little bit differently, and we're not having the shadows jump inward with us. We're just having the main node here is Shadow Infusion to get more area per shadow, and for shadows to automatically use Shadow Cascade instead of them using their normal melee attack when you create them, as you'll see in the video. Alright, we have 3 points in Growing Darkness for 60% increased area, 5 points in Foreshadowing so that your shadows deal 200% increased damage, 1 point in Dark Alleys to get 4 shadows instead of 2, 1 point in Dynamics for a little bit of mana efficiency. If you're okay with the mana the way it is, you can go ahead and get rid of this point and put it into the area or somewhere else on the tree that you'd like. If you're having mana issues, put 2 or 3 points in here and just take out of the area. We have 4 points in Coordinated Cuts for some armor stretch chance to unlock Umbral Assassination so that we now have Shadow Dagger on hit, 4 points in Shadow Infusion so that we gain area per shadow, and you gain ward per shadow. Now you normally have at least 4 shadows activated, so every time that you use this skill you're going to get 400 ward. Now sometimes we have 5, 6, 7, even up to 8 shadows active when we use it, which means you can get up to 800 ward when you use this skill, which means that you are now going to be a little extra protected while running this skill. So your survivability is up, you can attack faster, and you're doing damage in a bigger area. And 1 point in Wave of Darkness so that your shadows now use Shadow Cascade when you use Synchronized Strike. For Smoke Bomb, we're using this the same way, just for the added melee damage and to create some shadows. We have 5 points in Lingering Fumes, 5 points in Smoke Blades, 3 points in Blood Bandit so you have some extra melee leech, and 4 points in Umbral Assault for that shadow to be created every second while Smoke Bomb is active. And Shadow Cascade, you're no longer having to cast this yourself, but you do benefit from the tree, and you're going to need the tree to get the damage that you see in the video. We did change this one up just a little bit. We already have about 600% crit multi, so there was no need to get the extra 45% here. We already had 100% crit, so we also didn't need more base crit. So what we opted into was getting a lot of our daggers thrown. So all of your shadows that use Shadow Cascade will now throw 3 daggers as well. And sometimes when you go to kill an enemy with Shadow Cascade, or with Synchronized Strike, and you leave an enemy with 5 to 10% health, now sometimes it gets finished off with the daggers, which is really nice. So it lets you clear just a little bit faster. They don't do a whole lot of damage. They hit for about 1,000 to 1,500 damage crit, but when you have 3 daggers per shadow and you have 20 of them flying around, it's pretty good. And sometimes they home in a little bit, so they can actually all kind of hit the same target if they're from different shadows. So they can finish off targets for you, so you don't have to worry about jumping twice sometimes. For this skill, we have 4 points in Shadow Torrent for the damage per shadow, 1 point in Battle Trance for the dodge rating, 1 point in Crushing Darkness for the 30% more damage, 1 point in Flow State for what's for us 30% more damage because we have 1 sword and 1 dagger, 3 points in Dagger Dance for those 3 daggers thrown every time the Shadow Cascade is used, which will be by all of your shadows, 4 points in Rapid Expanse for increased area, 1 point in Precision, 1 point in Carnage, 1 point in Gloomstalker, and 3 points in Fight in the Shadows. The most important, because you do need that 12 mana back per shadow, because this is a very mana intensive way of using Synchronized Strike. For the Rogue passives, we have 27 points, with 8 points in Swift Assassin, 2 points in Lethal Cadence, 1 point in Steady Hand, 1 point in Twin Blade, 5 points in Dodge and Parry, 3 points in Duelist, and 7 points in Critical Precision for that 140% increased critical strike chance, since you get 70% with a sword and 70% with a dagger. No points in the Marksman and 66 points in the Bladedancer. We have 3 points in Cloak of Shadows, 8 points in Pursuit, 8 points in Once, 6 points in Sky Synthesis, 5 points in Blood Dance, 1 point in Flash of Steel, 10 points in Weapons of Choice, 6 points in Azuvan's Pact, 2 points in Perfection, 1 point in Confidence, 5 points in Exuberance, 5 points in Shadow Master, 1 point in Critical Eye, and 5 points in All In. For items, the idols that we have are exactly the same. They're going to still be increased damage per active shadow or increased damage dealt by shadows with attacks. Both of those are really going to help you. The more of the ones you get with increased damage per active shadow are going to be the ones that definitely do more damage for your build. Also, for the suffix, you can try and get something useful. For me, right now I just have increased damage while wielding a bow, which doesn't do anything for my build. Our items are basically all the same as the other video, except for we changed on a ring, the relic, and the amulet just to get some more crit chance. So for our ring, we have Vitality, Critical Strike chance, Dodge, and Health. We're wearing Soul Embracers with set Fizz, set Necrotic, Elemental, and Hybrid Health. The boots have the set affixes as well as Elemental Resistance and more movement speed. The Radiant Crest, which gives us some more Critical Strike multiplier, also has set Physical, set Necrotic, Elemental, and Health. Our ring has Dex, Vite, Health, and Dodge. The belt has Dodge, Hybrid Health, and Increased Health. For our chest, we have Tier 1 increased damage per active shadow, so definitely if you can, try and get a higher one on that. We just happen to break it, trying to go for Tier 2, so that's where we're stuck with until we find a better one. Same with the helm, we have Tier 1% increased damage per active shadow. Now instead of the 10% increased health, you can also opt for increased shadow damage. That's going to definitely help you do some more damage on top of the increased damage per active shadow, but getting both those rare rolls on the same piece is going to be rather difficult. For our weapons, we have the Decidate Sword with added melee physical and added melee critical strike chance. The same is on our Majason Dagger. And then for our amulet, we have a silver amulet for the increased critical strike. We went with physical penetration, an increased critical strike chance, health, and elemental resist. And then for our character sheet, as you can see, we're pretty close to all max resistance. We have 45% dodge, only 16% armor. There's definitely room for improvement on armor. This Bladedancer and really the Rogue in general doesn't really stack a whole lot of armor. You're more built around dodge and trying to hit things from range. So in the higher waves and in the really difficult situations, you can definitely expect to get one tap. So for the play style of this build and for the skill rotation, it's really simple. I almost never use dancing strikes. Again, that's kind of just if you want to speed run through, but you can basically speed run and just kill everything now with this setup, so it's so much easier. I like to put smoke bomb on autocast because I don't really care if I'm in it or not. I just want it active so that it's popping up the shadows, because these shadows are going to give you mana back when you decide to use your shadow cascade, which will automatically be procced by the synchronized strike, of course. So it's just a nice way to have extra shadows that, one, will do more damage, so if you leave it behind and there's mobs trailing, you're more likely, even if you're off screen, to kill the mobs that are behind you. You can dash whenever. You can put it on autocast if you want. I like to actually dash whenever I want, especially right before I use Synchronized Strike, so that I get extra damage with Synchronized Strike, since you get that 115% more damage out of it. And all you're going to do is just sit here and you're just going to spam Synchronized Strike, and you can just see that the area is going to be huge. It takes up the entire screen. I mean, you're just gonna, you have your 100% crit, you're gonna do, 100,000 damage to the training dummy here, 150,000. You have all the daggers that are hitting for like 6,000 against the dummy. Like I said, they only hit the enemies for about 1,000 damage each. But you can just sit here and you can just spam this all day long and just do massive amounts of damage. And it's really as simple as that. If you do happen, as you can see, after you use it, you do have your shadows left, so if you ever start to run out of mana, so if I do this long enough, eventually somehow I'll have a time where my mana actually gets down far enough. So like right now, my mana's at half. You can just use the regular Shadow Cascade, and you can sacrifice all of those shadows to instantly get all your mana back. That's the only time that you'll manually cast Shadow Cascade. Otherwise, just keep using Synchronized Strike, as it's going to auto cast it for you. Alright, let's go ahead and get into some more gameplay.